we touched on it a little bit there, but Fury Chisora, again, not a fight everyone was talking about, but Frank Warren will then say it's done 50,000 tickets already. So,
well, Frank Warren can say that they did 50,000 tickets, and if that's true, good for them.
I think it was reported it had sold that, yeah.
I don't believe they did 50,000 tickets. I believe a lot of them were bought up by scalpers, and they're sitting there on StubHub or some other third-party vehicle to sell tickets. So I think that's a fake 50,000 buys. But again, if they did 50,000, good for them. I mean, there's probably 50,000 diehard Brits that want to see Tyson Fury fight against anybody, Derek Chisora or anybody else, and that's all well and good. But everybody knows that the vast majority of the money associated with that event is not the 50,000 tickets that they claim to have sold. It's on what's going to go on the pay-per-view. And you can't tell me that if they were fighting instead of fighting Derek Chisora, Tyson Fury is fighting Anthony Joshua. A couple of things. One, the pay-per-view was gargantuan. And two, that they would be able to charge a lot more money for the tickets. Yeah. So, I respect Frank Warren, and Frank's been a great promoter for a long time, but Frank's a promoter. He's out there to sell you, to sell you an event. So, he's doing his best job that he can on this fight. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to just go back to January and find Frank's comments that he made to the BBC about how Tyson Fury, or they should never let first of all, that Derek Chisora should retire. This is him coming off of the loss against Parker in the second fight where he got dropped 3 times. And if Frank said in that interview to BBC that not only should Chisora retire, but anybody would have to be crazy if they let him in the ring with Tyson Fury. So when it had nothing to do with him, he was all willing to tell everybody to put Derek Chisora out the pasture. Now he's sitting here trying to pimp him in the fight. You tell me, because he's got a dollar to be made now. So of course he wants to have the fight.
Yeah. So when you look at Tyson Fury, obviously he came out and said, "I want to fight Usyk." Usyk said, "I can't fight this year. I've got to go back and be early next year." So then he tried to make the Joshua fight from the outside looking in, said 60-40 split, let's get this done. Derek and Anthony are the same management company, but Derek has been afforded the luxury, what seems like more time to make the deal done. But
it's not what seems like more time. They gave Anthony Joshua like 30 seconds. They gave Chisora like 3 or 4 weeks.
But if AJ's not the guy to fight, who else could Fury fight in between now and fighting Usyk that would be
go down any list of rankings, find a guy you haven't already wiped out twice in non-competitive fights. Yeah. And you don't think that there's some other heavyweight contender out there that would jump at the opportunity to fight for the heavyweight championship of the world? I'd rather see Tyson Fury in a rematch with Otto Whalen than a third fight against Derek Chisora. And that's just one example. I'm not saying that's the fight I advocate. You said, who could he fight? There's guys out there that would take this fight. And by the way, I've got no problem with Tyson Fury wanting to stay active after the Dillian White fight and have a second fight this year, knowing that he's trying to set up the Usyk fight in the beginning part of next year. But don't tease me and bullshit me about you're going to fight Anthony Joshua when you know that that's a fake and a fraud, and then come back to me with Manuel Char and then a third fight with Derek Chisora. Don't play me like that.
Yeah. I think when you mentioned that Otto Wallin, although he could do that rematch, the balancing act with that would be the Chisora fight would sell better than Otto Wallin, especially in the UK. 2 Brits, isn't it?
That's fine. So doesn't mean I'm not a Brit.
No, look, I agree with you. It's not the fight I want to see, but I think
it's the most useless, pointless trilogy I can think of in a long, long time.
It's the lead up to Undisputed, though. That's what we're thinking into, though. That's what's going to happen surely next.
You've been drinking the Kool-Aid.
What does Anthony Joshua do in the meantime? Because obviously he's got to build himself back up. We're looking at Joe Joyce, who's obviously going to be the Undisputed, will supersede the mandatory for Joe Joyce. So Fury and Usyk will fight, providing he gets past Chisora. And then obviously Anthony Joshua is left with trying to build back up. Who does he fight in the meantime with relevance that will give him that platform to then start getting back in his championship fights? Is it a Dillian White? What would you like to see him do?
I think with Joshua, it's sort of a similar situation. You go down the rankings, try to find a guy that you think will make a good event, certainly a guy that you're supposed to beat, and just get your rear end back in the ring and try to rebuild yourself. And again, I've heard Otto Whalen come up as a possible opponent for him at some point. That would be a measuring stick, how he does against Otto compared to, say, the same way that Tyson Fury did against him. But there are definitely guys out there. It doesn't have to be the biggest name. Obviously, a lot of it's going to depend on what's Anthony Joshua's desires in terms of how much he gets paid. The less of a risk, the less of a chance you're taking, perhaps the less money is going to be there. But Joshua, it might be the best thing for him to just take a step back. You're not going to have some mega fight. It's not going to be probably a title fight. Just go in the ring and just win. Get a victory, feel good about yourself, put on a good performance, and the fans will show up. They're not going to abandon Anthony Joshua because he lost and had the stones to take on Usyk twice in a row. And in the second fight, I thought he actually fought one of his better fights in the second fight. Just wasn't enough to beat a really skillful fighter like Alexander Usyk that night.
Agree. He did a lot better than he did in the first fight. He just came up against a guy who was, for me, being there in person, he really was spectacular that night. Was Usyk, an incredible fighter. We're going to flip this a little bit now. I spoke to one of the young promising heavyweights. I think he came down for Shields and Marshall the first time before he got cancelled. Jared Anderson. Big high hopes for him over there. How far do you think he can go? You've seen him, obviously, his career up to this point. He's showing a lot of promising signs. Can he be sort of the future of the heavyweight division once we see, obviously, everyone sort of is going to have their time, their period? Is he going to be the next one coming through, in your opinion?
I mean, Jared right now is considered by most people, myself included, as certainly the best American heavyweight prospect. Certainly one of the best heavyweight prospects in all of boxing. The kid's undefeated. He's a young guy, 12-0 with 12 knockouts. He's got a fight coming up, in the not too distant future. And they're just going to keep him, building him. He's fighting in December on the undercard of Teofimo Lopez at Madison Square Garden. He's going to take on what I think is the right step in terms of the progression of his career. It'll be the most notable opponent so far that he's faced. He's going to fight Jerry Forrest, who has been in with some good opponents. He has a draw with Michael Hunter that everybody thinks that Jerry got robbed in that fight. He's got a draw with the Chinese contender Zhang Zhilei. That was a hugely close fight that could have maybe gone either way. So he's taken that step up, and I think people will be looking, can he stop Jerry Forrest, who has been durable against these better guys? And so, he's on the right path. And when you're with a company like Top Rank, who puts a premium on matchmaking, they do a tremendous job of moving their young fighters and getting them the sort of opponents and the experience that they need before they jump them up. Remember, he's only like 22 years old and he's 12-0. There's a lot of time for him. But one thing about him, even if you don't think he's been fighting guys that are at a top level just yet, which he shouldn't be at this formative stage of his career. Talk to Tyson Fury. I mean, he sparred with Tyson Fury for both Wilder camps. Tyson Fury speaks extremely highly of the talent of Jared Anderson. He got tremendous experience being in the ring with Fury. They don't talk about what actually happened. What happens in the gym stays in the gym, as they say. But by all accounts, he handled himself well, and they have a friendly relationship. And Tyson Fury, when he was going to fight Dillian White, when that fight first was made, I had spoken to Bob Arum on the day that the fight was finally agreed to when everything was set. And he said that he had spoken to Tyson on the phone. And one of the first things that Tyson said to him was, "Hey, get Jared Anderson on the plane. I want him over here to be part of my camp again." And unfortunately, Jared had an injury and was not able to go to the camp and was not able to fight on that undercard. He had a hand problem, but now he's back. He's back in business, and he's got a great future.
It says a lot when the heavyweight champion of the world's requesting you for sparring as well. Look, Dan, thank you for giving me some of your time. We've covered quite a bit there, which has been good. Hopefully we can catch up again. Hopefully some of these fights get made. And subscribe to, obviously, your newsletter. The link will be in the description. And we'll have you back on shortly, hopefully.
I appreciate it. Thanks a lot, my man.
Appreciate it. Cheers, Dan.